Another day at Mazurian Lakes. We're coming back with another conversation.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm gonna sit like this. I want to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I wanted to talk about something that is quite dear to my heart that's come up for me quite a lot in the last year, and that is chronic illness. Just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with coronary heart disease.
Bloody hell, this ants. Sorry.
We've got a lot of flying ants around us at the moment, so if we're batting them away, that's why. So yeah, just over a year ago, I was diagnosed with coronary heart disease, which was actually pretty terrifying, and it took me a long time to get my head around it. And I kept having some really, really, really difficult symptoms that just didn't respond to any of the treatments for that. I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle, and I kept going back to the GP, and eventually they found something in my blood work that led them to do some extra tests, and it was discovered that I actually have a condition called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is often shortened to POTS. And my GP doesn't actually believe I ever had coronary heart disease, although I am awaiting a referral to a cardiologist just to confirm that I don't have both. And what I wanted to talk about today really was my innate belief and inner knowing that everything in the physical has a root in the spiritual, and I do truly believe that everything can be cured with energy work. Now, I'll be straight, I'm not there yet. The POTS can be, and often is, completely debilitating. There are days when I can't stand up. There are days when I feel dizzy even sitting down. And if you're not familiar with the condition, it basically means that when you change your posture suddenly, or even slowly, as I'm finding, your heart rate massively increases and your blood pressure massively drops. And symptoms include, but not limited to, dizziness, fatigue, chest pain, digestive issues. I even discovered relatively recently that it can even result in strange sensations on your skin. It can create restless leg syndrome. It can create a sense of burning when you're not actually burning. And it's a neurological disorder. Now, this won't be true for everybody, but I am pretty confident that in my case, it was because I have spent the best part of the last decade living in survival mode. And I have been bouncing from one trauma to the next, to the next, to the next. And my body has had to hold it together. My psyche has had to hold it together. And I haven't really had much of a chance to lick my wounds in between the traumas. I have been doing energy work throughout. I have been facing myself with intrigue and honesty throughout. But there has been an enormous amount in a very short time. And in walks this wonderful man next to me, who provides me with everything that I've ever wanted. But ultimately, the biggest gift that he's brought into my life is safety. And that's something that I actually don't recall ever experiencing before now. And I'm not going to lie, it is a bit of a mind fuck getting my head around the fact that I am actually safe now. I'm safe to be myself, celebrated for it even. Everything, all of the burdens that I have suffered as a single person are now shared. And my nervous system has finally relaxed. And that's when all these physical symptoms have started coming up. And from what I can gather from the research that I've done, this is actually very, very normal. And all that's really happening is my body is finally telling the truth. So it has been a lot to get my head around. I have gone from being a very able-bodied person who's always been exceptionally and inexplicably strong physically, to feeling very weak, and not being able to do a huge amount, even household chores, are completely impossible some days. I've had to lean on my husband way more than I feel comfortable doing. And I've had to say no to my children a lot more than I feel comfortable doing. And it has been one heck of a challenge. That said, the message I wanted to convey today, rather than one of doom and gloom, was that if you are battling chronic illness, please know that this doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be you set for life. And I guarantee you that it will merely be the physical manifestation of some difficult energy that your body is holding on to somewhere along the way.
Yeah, it's very apt to what I've been recently sharing on my Polish TikTok, and that is the body always keeps the score, and we may not remember what we actually sign up for, like energetically and in terms of relationships. When this is kind of circling back to the boundaries as well, and to say no, because very often, those moments when we said yes to something we didn't want to say no to because we didn't feel safe, they are just stored in the body. Subconscious mind, it can be equated to the body as well, and its memories. And when, like you said, when body is, when in your subconscious mind, you're kind of, your system knows that, oh my goodness,
hello,
that's
beautiful.
a massive dragonfly. When your body is and subconscious mind don't feel safe, then you will remain in that imbalance between the masculine and feminine energies, and that creates imbalance in the body, because, like you said, everything is connected to the energy, and energy never lies. Therefore, body can only follow the energetic blueprint that is provided to it, and only when we feel safe, then those unhealed aspects of ourselves, of our psyche, they come to the surface, and very often they will be presented as a chronic illness, because otherwise we would not be even aware of certain things, that in our mind we would just say that I'll deal with that later on. But you can do that until that point when your body has to take over and has to actually communicate that to your mind. So to me, all illness, all physical symptoms are the messages from the body to the mind that there is some work to be done. And the same thing is with trapped emotions that we could not processed when we were younger, because we had no emotional maturity for that. Those things very often as well manifest themselves as physical illness.
Another thing I forgot to actually mention was I also got diagnosed with, I had a few weeks before the wedding, I had this absolutely horrific pain. And one of my friends sort of marched around and demanded I go to hospital and took me in. I was projectile vomiting, and I had literally, it was the very worst pain of my life.
Horrible.
Yeah, and I was diagnosed at hospital with cholecystitis, which was caused by gallstones, and one of the gallstones had wedged into my cystic duct and was causing absolutely horrific pain. So for a week, 8 days, I think, following that, I was completely bedridden.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this one up as well is that this is actually very, very common, not necessarily cholecystitis, but certainly gallstones and liver and gallbladder problems, and especially common among women. And interestingly, when you look at the root causes of liver problems and gallbladder problems, energetically speaking, this is where we store suppressed rage and anger.
Yeah.
To be honest, when you understand the dichotomies that are at play in modern Western world, you understand why it's so much more common among women, because we are very rarely offered a safe platform to express our anger and rage, and that almost always gets suppressed. So as we've touched on this isn't just a case of come on guys, heal yourselves. I think we're actually going to start teaching how. So there's been a few things that have helped with the cholecystitis and the liver problems, for me personally. On a physical sense, castor oil packs, like round the clock, taking a decent wedge of malic acid every day. If you can get malic acid in apple juice, you'd need to drink at least a litre a day, or you can take malic acid in powder form. Do be mindful that if you add it to drinking water, it will erode your teeth enamel. So it's probably best to do it in capsule form. There's Chanca Piedra, which is a type of tea. I didn't particularly like the flavours, so I got that in capsule form as well. You can buy various liver complex products that include typically dandelion, artichoke, milk thistle, and bile salts. There's another supplement called Tudca, so it's TUDCA. That's also very good at breaking down stones. I mean, the Chanca Piedra is literally called stone breaker, and it works for kidney stones as well as gallstones. And what has been very transformative for me has been the Andreas Moritz Liver Flush. I highly recommend you buy the book. If you do not have the means to buy the book, you can ask ChatGPT for the full program, and it will detail the full protocol. One thing it didn't mention actually was that you're supposed to be almost fat free for the 5 to 6 days leading up to the flush, the same time that you take the malic acid. So that helps on the physical sense, and it helps move things through. On an energetic sense, what really helped for me, and I felt massively different the day after we did this, was emotion code. And that's something that Krzysiek introduced me to, and that has been amazing. And you can do the emotion code for pretty much any ailment that you have. Every physical manifestation is rooted in our emotions that we store in the body, as Krzysiek touched on a little while ago. And the emotion code and the body code are both available via app. And if you would like further information on how to do the emotion code, please do mention it in the comments, and we can send you links or just talk you through it. Really,
yeah, we can do a
very
little
simple
presentation, you know, and with an example of emotion that manifests itself as a physical ailment.
It's very, very simple and really, really effective.
Yeah.
You found you were using that for a lot of your healing journey, weren't you, before we met?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. With regards to the pots, I don't know, and I'm going to have to play it by ear and see how things go. But if you've watched the video that we shared yesterday, I don't know if we've actually uploaded those yet, but they will be. The video before this, I talked about releasing the spirit of my dead son, and I am wondering if that's going to have an impact on my symptoms. I haven't noticed yet, but we shall see. I also do believe that once I get my liver completely healed, because I'm only 2 flushes in, the Andreas Moritz flush recommends a bare minimum of 6 to 12 flushes, and they're spaced 3 to 4 weeks apart. When I have completed that process, my liver should be healed completely. And I'm wondering too if that will have an impact on the pots, and I guess you'll just have to stay tuned and I will keep you informed. Personal inventories during meditation are another really good way of finding any areas within you that need attention. Certainly for myself personally, when I meditate, I have what I call a conference of self, and this wasn't a modality that was taught to me. It was something that I started doing intuitively. So I will get into a deep meditative state, and I will literally call forward all elements of self, and we'll be sitting there, and I'll be on the stage, and literally every part of my younger self, and sometimes some of my future selves, sort of are sitting out in the audience, and we just have a chat. Who has something they need to bring up today? Who needs some attention? Who feels neglected? What's coming up for you guys right now? And I find that a really, really, really therapeutic, meditative tool. And it's really important that if you do that, that any part of yourself that speaks up, you meet them with intrigue and no judgment.
Yeah, maybe explain a little bit of that notion of parts of oneself, because some people might not understand what that means.
Okay, so every single time you experience trauma, every single time you experience an uncomfortable emotion even, there will be a fragment of yourself that will be frozen in time within your psyche from that experience. It's stuff that we don't process. There was a Freudian quote that's, I don't particularly rate Freud, but one quote that really does stand out as being very accurate is that which we do not process, we are destined to repeat. So in a moment when something grabs your attention in an unpleasant way and you don't have the means, tools or time to process it immediately, it gets stored in your body, and this will create a fragment of you, a version of you. And it's not just the parts of me that have been traumatized. There's also parts of me that have been frozen in time through extreme joy and otherworldly experiences. And those parts of me, they're who I like to think of as the wisdom crew. They come to those conferences too. So when I call forward all elements of self, there are thousands of younger versions of me. And as I said, sometimes a few future ones as well, although they come in a little less frequently and in less numbers. They will all sort of file in, and we do literally have like a little conference inside during a meditation. And you will all have them. This is just a psychological fact. If you don't believe in the spiritual side of things, you're probably on the wrong channel. But if you don't, one thing I've learned is that what we discussed in the spiritual realm has the exact counterpart in psychology. They just use different language.
Absolutely.
So all of what I'm talking about here is psychological fact. This exists in all of us. We all have an inflated sense of self, and it's just part of our ego. It's how we go through life, and anything that doesn't align with that gets sucked in the shadow self. So there'll be quite a few versions of you that are floating around in your shadow self. They don't align with the inflated sense of self that you have, so therefore you don't see them.
Those parts that were rejected out of feeling not safe. If you as a child felt not safe to, for example, as we were talking about anger, to express anger, then that anger will be suppressed, and then there will be, part of your psyche that governs that emotion and that suppression of this emotion. And also, as you were talking about, future and past selves and moments frozen in time, the versions of us. There are also, from psychological point of view, there are parts of ourselves like protector, like that's the part of the psyche that very often doesn't let you do things that you would love to do, because its work is based on the past experience. And if in the past you were not safe to, you were like, you kind of made in your mind association that it's not safe to express yourself, and then that protector will always stand in your way, because its job is to protect your psyche and protect your body. And it's not like, we can call it inner conflict, but there's nothing. It's just how the psyche works. The psyche has its own mechanisms, and
the more difficulties you've experienced in childhood, the stronger your protector will be.
Yeah,
if you are somebody that is prone to self-sabotage, that will be your protector element stepping in.
Yeah.
It's because you've experienced something similar in the past. It's caused you further pain, suffering, or damage or harm. So your protector steps in and says, nope, we're not going here again. We're not having this again. Nope. And it shuts that down. I remember when myself and Krzysiek first got together, my protector was like spinning out of control. She was telling me that he was a psychopath. I've got two of those in my past. She was telling me that he was going to leave me, that he was using me, that he was exploiting me, and then when I finally managed to talk her around out of all of that, she started telling me he was going to die, and that I was going to lose him. And don't get too comfortable with this. It's temporary. It's not going to last. So that was a huge learning experience for me to overcome all of that, really.
Yeah, and also, among those parts of your psyche, there are other elements, like you have the escapist, right? You have so every time something, emotionally is too hard to handle, then you may find yourself going into some sort of escapism as a coping mechanism.
And that can be physical escape. It can be,
it can be
shutting down
addiction.
emotionally. Addiction is a really big one.
So there are so many parts of the psyche. So like you were saying, that you don't need to be aware of each of them because I think that will come with time if you practice that conference with parts of yourself.
That's a good point. Something I didn't mention is that when you start doing, if you do decide to go down that path and starting up a conference of self, and I do highly recommend it, do be mindful of the fact that there will be a lot of elements of self that won't trust you to start with. You're going to have to earn their trust, and you do that just through repetition, showing up regularly.
It's like with inner child, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Inner child is
it's very, very similar. Yeah, most of those elements, or certainly a lot of those elements, will be child elements. You will need to show up regularly. You will need to listen. Don't interrupt. You listen, and you meet anything that is said with intrigue and compassion and love and no judgment. And you keep doing that, and you will start finding that you're a team. And the parts of you that need something are going to start speaking up a little bit more freely and a little bit more easily and a bit quicker. And the whole process can be done a lot more succinctly. And it's not exhaustive. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not somebody that is good with routine. I'm not somebody that has ever been able to practice something like this on a really regular basis. So it really works for me. So
it just comes naturally.
You just... It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't even have to be every week, but it has to be fairly frequently.
Yeah, I have something for those of you who are a little bit more like myself, that are not very visual on demand when it comes to meditation. So writing down things, if you don't feel safe to express your emotions, if you don't have anyone around you that you feel safe to express your emotions to, then you can, whatever comes up for you, just keep carrying a notebook on you, or even in the notes on your phone. You can write down the situation, what emotion has come up during that situation. And with time, as you keep doing that, you will start learning that emotions are messages, and it will become easier to actually experience emotions, even those difficult ones. And the second, with time, you will start connecting dots, because you will start noticing the patterns in your emotional reactions, in emotional triggers, and you will start linking the present emotions with the past ones, and it will be much easier to understand why certain things trigger the fuck out of you. I think writing is my thing, and ever since I started writing those things down that trigger me, I started doing that at the beginning of our relationship, and that has helped me tremendously. So that's more like a mental exercise,
So I think we've covered most of what I wanted to cover today. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to add I think I was 17 years old when I first started having symptoms of psoriasis. I mean, I started having psoriasis on my skin. And psoriasis is autoimmune disease. Basically, your skin cells are produced too quickly for the old skin to be shed before the new skin arrives on the surface of your body, and therefore it forms depends on the type of psoriasis, but it in my case it forms like little patches of dry skin on my knuckles, on my elbows. And I very often notice that when something is out of balance with me, then psoriasis flares up. And to me, it has become like a litmus paper of where I am energetically and emotionally, because I know when it's clear, then I can definitely feel that in my body. I feel relaxed. I feel at home in my body. But when I either do too much outside of myself and don't pay enough attention to my inner child, to my inner world, then that is being manifested as a flare-up of psoriasis. So, like, I think we are circling back to what we said at the beginning, that everything is rooted in spiritual and energetic realm, because even scientists now, even science now confirms that everything is 99.99999, and we can go on percent free space. And only reason why we see and experience objects as solid is the perception of the brain, and also the vibration of those atoms, right? But everything is if you heal something energetically, you can do it much quicker than like, I don't know, going to the doctor and trying to just heal the symptoms of because you're not getting the message. The message is encoded in your body, speaking through the disease. Yeah, I think I am done. I think.
So, just to round up and to summarize, everything in the physical has a root in the spiritual. We are incredibly powerful healing creatures, and everything that ails us can be healed. And that isn't, I'd like to point out at this juncture as well, that isn't, we're not victim blaming here. If you haven't figured out how to do that yet, it's not your fault. I'm a massive believer in everybody being in an exact and inevitable products of parameters outside their control. So if you haven't healed something within you yet, it's because you haven't yet accrued the tools or the resources.
And the message is still there for you.
Yeah. And if you are feeling this and something's resonating within you and you just don't know where to go from here, please mention it in the comments, because we've got a lot of resources at our fingertips. We're pretty clued up on this stuff, and we're very eager to help. That's a huge part of our combined soul mission, is to share our wisdom and help humanity. So with that, guys, we're going to love you and leave you. And like I said, if you need any pointers, please do hit us up, because it is our pleasure and our honor to help if we can.
Yeah, and definitely we'll be sharing more practical tools for certain subjects and types of healing. And also, I feel that we've come together to role model relationship, honest and accepting relationship, and this is part of our collaboration of our hearts, and I feel in the future I definitely would love us to be exploring tools that are connected to healthy communication, and
that's a good idea for another
healing.
Podcast, actually, and how we handle some of our marital discord.
Yeah, and healing, you know, those parts of yourself that don't feel safe in relationship. Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's been lovely chatting to you again. And I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm watching a
long.
dragonfly.
I had one land in my head while we were recording earlier.
Yeah,
It was beautiful. Yeah. Okay, guys. Mwah. Ciao for now.
See you in the next
soon.
one. Bye.